Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Not a great couple of days for Zellsis after all the drama that's unfolded over the last few days. He got hacked last night on Twitter, and that did not end in an especially good way either. Some big scrim results though going down last night as well. Leaf giving his perspective on how things have been going behind the scenes. Very much into your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. We do have some roster changes to get into as well. Starting here with Chobra joining, not as a player, but as an official streamer for Nongshim Red Force, of course. They have looked pretty good so far, taking over that Sinprasa gaming team. Optimistic for their future in the VCT Pacific, but of course this year it's pressure on really, isn't it, for any of those teams that made it up through Ascension, because if you don't deliver then you get relegated, basically is how it works. A slight change from how things were when things first came around. Couple of changes that are being made as well between Titan Esports Club and Dragon Ranger Gaming. So T-Virus Luke is going to be joining Titan Esports Club. They're locking things in for the start of the new season, which is effectively going to get underway just in a second. But that means TEC do have a serious roster, right? Like, they've got 7 players on their team now, they've got 2 members of their coaching staff, and they brought in Coco as well, ex-CCG player. So, yeah, how will they get on? It's only a couple of days away that the Chinese region gets underway. The other regions happen a bit later, but yeah, the 13th of March, so in just 3 days, that's when XLG, BLG gets underway, Trace, All Gamers, and then the matches get underway from there. So yeah, Titan Esports Club, they do have now a pretty substantial roster on their hands. I mean, look at this. You don't see that every day. They've got 3 lines of players. RB's team, of course, you know, with Hao Dong, Dynamite, etc. Now we've got T-Virus Luke coming in, Coco. They've got a sub as well. Couple of coaches. Like, it's all going on, right? So, you know, whether that will be enough for them to deliver some results this season, I guess time will only tell. They're in that Group A with Edwards, you know, with DRG as well, which is pretty interesting after the change that we have just seen. Time will tell how, of course, they end up getting on. Interesting from Safe. I've seen a lot of tweets like this from pro players lately, so when I see them I thought, you know, we'll keep mentioning them just because we've seen quite a lot of players either step away or become somewhat frustrated. I think Durka is in a similar category about the way that the game has gone over the last couple of years. And look, this is VALORANT now, this is what it is. But I think there is definitely some nostalgia from some of the players as to how VALORANT used to be, even back to the chamber meta, which is pretty funny to think about. I, as you guys probably remember if you've watched the channel for a while, pretty big fan of the chamber meta. I didn't really have an issue with it. Again, it was a bit stupid, but like I kind of enjoyed that meta, and I enjoyed it at the time. I don't think this is just nostalgia goggles for me. And Safe says this: VALORANT promised gunfights will decide the game rather than abilities, but recently I just feel so overwhelmed by the sheer amount of util. During chamber meta, at least people got to aim and play a traditional shooter. Now good luck seeing your screen on some rounds. And look, I think this is an interesting perspective of the way that the game has gone in recent times, that the agents that are now, you know, meta agents and the new agents that have come in have introduced additional utility to the extent that the game is, you know, less about actually hitting headshots than it used to be and more about just thriving in the chaos. And sure, maybe that's VALORANT nowadays. It's not necessarily how it used to be. Players like Safe will say, look, bring the chamber meta back how it used to be back then and things were slightly clearer, which may be true. Don't know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, I tend to be in favour of a more traditional game, but that's not the way that VALORANT's gone recently, and it doesn't mean that it's not necessarily entertaining. Now, this is the Sentinels drama involving Zellsis as well. Of course, they play in a few days against 100T. That's their first game, of course. But Zellsis has obviously been going through it over the last couple of days. We've seen various tweets that have either kept alive or been deleted, various reactions to it, people impression farming and all this on social media, and, you know, saying things that frankly just don't need to be said, but they're saying them anyway, I guess, for some clout and some impression points. But last night Zellsis did a tweet on his account which, well, went as follows. Actually, before we get to that, we'll have a look at this tweet from 6, so for some reason they just keep on going with it. But Zellsis tweeted this out yesterday. As Sentinels, first of all, spelt wrong. So I think, like, for the very first words, you recognise that this is not an official press release, because if it was, this would be spelt correct. Solana, of course, you know, we're talking crypto, right? Introducing the Sentinels coin. Sentinels introduces Sentinels coin to empower fans in the esports community. This digital asset provides access to exclusive events, rewards, and team benefits, enhancing the fan experience. Contract address, and then, of course, we've got the link here. So, you obviously, hopefully none of you guys clicked on it, pump.fun/coin. So, definitely Sentinels would launch a coin through a website called pump.fun. Absolutely, 100%. This is for sure legit. I'm proud to introduce the project developed by the team that I am a part of. Invest in the future, win with Sentinels, he says. Now, of course, if anyone saw this and thought, oh, is this for real? Because it is the type of thing that Sentinels at least would consider doing, and Zellsis may tweet about. Would he tweet it in this way? Probably not. But if they were to ever do this, they would make it a cohesive announcement, right? Like it would be the Sentinels official page doing a press release on the matter. All the players either would tweet about it at the same time or something, right? The idea of Zellsis just tweeted about it on his own with this contract address, pump at the ends, probably never is going to be legit, right? So this was actually the full, they attached this big image of the Sentinels thing as well. Rob Moore came out on Twitter to say, yeah, unfortunately, Zellsis has been hacked. So, yeah, pretty rough couple of days. Zellsis obviously has the word on the podcast, lots of drama about it. He then apologizes. People then are either backing him up or clowning him. It's the Twitter's absolute chaos, of course. And then maybe as a result of this or as a repercussion, who knows, someone decides, all right, I'm going to hack Zellsis' account, gets in there, and then decides to pump their crypto assets, and hopefully no one got burned on this. So, Sentinels decided, okay, we'll make it clear, yeah, Zellsis has been hacked. This tweet, though, as you can tell, was up for some time, so I'm sure that some people did click on the link, and, the tweet from Sentinels is still here. Zellsis has been hacked, what a weekend. So, yeah, bit of a shambles on the Sentinel side over the last couple of days. I'm sure they've got a few things to think about going into the new week, but intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Speaking of Sendo and other teams, how does Scrims look as it stands? Couple of Scrimbux to go through from last night. This is a pretty rough one. We're over in the Pacific here, we're over in the Japanese region, and we're talking about Zeta Division, a team that was so exciting and promising and, easy to root for and support. And it's not like that's massively changed. It's just now they suck, unfortunately. And I feel bad for the Japanese fans not really having, a cohesive team to root for, apart from, to some degree, DFM. And whether they could start making some progress this year. But this was a scrim against Murash Gaming, another Japanese team. But they are, they're not a great Japanese team. They've had some decent results recently, to be fair. They beat the Academy 2-1 in a game back in February. But, they're considered the 11th best team in Japan, something in that kind of ballpark. Based on their form rating, they've currently got a game ongoing against Crest Gaming. So, they've got the win. They won the binds. It's currently going to the Haven. It's their map pick. They may well close out the series. But still, for Zeta to be down 2-10 to these guys is not really an excellent sign. But maybe, some promise for the future Japanese VALORANT. There's plenty of players and teams over there. It's just the results right now for the teams that are meant to be the best aren't really great. This is pretty interesting. So, Sentinels played SR Black. That's Paint and those guys over there. Tier 2 team on the Ascension side. Sentinels were down 3-5. They brought it back to 8-8, and eventually they're up 12-10. So nice little comeback from Sentinels, if you want to call it that, whatever map that they were potentially playing on. A couple of other results as well. EG 1-3, it doesn't mean much. 100T were up 16-6 on someone. Sen 12-10, we think that maybe that was the 12-10 we just mentioned, could have been another one. Cubits were up 11-3 on someone or another. There was also this result. NRG were playing TSM, and this was 7-2. It became 9-4. It then became 12-6. So those are kind of the numbers we have of the day. But NRG may be getting some decent results in. Where I wanted to take this was the following. So VCT Scrims, he came out with his tier list the other day. And then yesterday he came up with his tier list based on scrim results. So it's not like purely scrims. There's obviously some consideration towards the kickoff and some other results that have happened recently. But this list is a little bit different to his original list. It's quite similar though. It is quite similar. And based on scrim results as of late, this is how things presently look. And it's pretty ugly, I'm not going to lie. So this was his list for just overall vibes, right? Like, without really considering scrim results, how good he thinks they will be. And, well, the top 6 was G2, Sentinels, MIBR, Lev Crew, and NRG. 100T down here in 8th place, and, Cloud9, EG, Loud. So some of these will stay the same, as you'll notice, but some of these are actually quite dramatically different, as we can see here. So this is the newer version, based on scrim results, kind of alone and in isolation, and you'll see a couple of big changes here, and changes that may not massively surprise you, but we'll start from the bottom. 2G are 12th on both lists. Furia are 11th on both lists. Cloud9 are 10th on both lists. and Loud are 9th on the original and 8th on the new one. It's NRG that are the focus here, right? I mean, EG are 7th on both, Furia are 5th on both, MIBR are 3rd on this one, 4th on this one. In Scrims, Lev seemingly get a bit worse, and at the top you've got G2 and Sentinels looking roughly the same on paper. The big changes, as I'm sure you guys can tell by now, are NRG and 100T. On the overall tier list, 100T, he considered them to be pretty down the list. Of course, this is very much subjective. But in terms of scrims, they're kind of cooking. They're maybe the 3rd best team based on scrim results. And NRG, this doesn't massively surprise me for NRG. I think they will always be, given FNS and the way that team tends to set up, I think they will always be a better team in matches than they are in practice. That's just my feeling. But still, to put them 9th is pretty rough as it stands, especially given the change that they've made to try and make some serious progress. So in tweeting your thoughts on that, of course, Leaf of G2 says, well, how do you guys have us first? We haven't even scrims. But like, they've got to be first, right? I mean, they've just, made it all the way to the grand finals of Bangkok. Eventually, they lost to T1, of course, but they're still the best team in the Americas. Sentinels kind of have to be 2nd as well. So yeah, Leaf says we haven't really scrimmed lately, but it also does count old scrims as well. So VCT Scrims says, probably should have clarified, but I meant the older scrims, even dating back to January. And these are some of the results back then. So when you consider some of these numbers, and this is when G2 were cooking loads of teams, then these are the numbers that this is based on, basically. And I think he gave a bit more context in the replies as well by saying, yeah, the way that I got these results, I assigned each kickoff placement a value. Each round taken off that team would add to the opposing team score to create this tier list. And when there's a question mark, obviously when the opposition isn't known, it's then excluded. But when you do know the results, then you can come up with something kind of like this. Is it going to be true? Who knows? But yeah, I think it's notable to say that 100T looking maybe better than expected and NRG looking maybe worse than expected as things presently stand. But very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.